What's going on, guys, and welcome back once again. So set championship week 2 is ramping on up, and no pun intended, so are we, at least in one of these lists. Today we're going to go ahead and talk about blue steel a little bit and the couple ways that the deck is seeing play. It actually did decently well this past weekend, and I think it's a deck that's going to be trending upward into next coming weekend. Link to the spreadsheet is down below if you want to track all the formats top. So without further ado, blue steel aggro. This is a deck that I briefly covered in a video earlier this week. This is my updated, well, not even updated, this is my version of the deck, not just one pulled from Ink Decks that took first place. This is a deck that I think is going to gain popularity. I think it's actually a very strong deck. I think it's very quick, and it's a great way to play an aggressive style while not just outright losing to things. It has a stronger mid-game. I think the days of Amber Amethyst are kind of going by the wayside for right now, and we're seeing Diggy Hole, we're seeing Blue Steel, we're seeing these style aggro decks really taking over. So in your one-drop spots, you have the Mickey Mouse and the Robin Hood playing that shift line, also allowing you to deal with your opponent's boards, kind of like the Calhoun play, while still getting lore in the process. Mickey Mouse having the resist, meaning it's going to quest a few times, and he's kind of a problem to deal with in the early going. So we're playing those 8-on-1. Calhoun, and then you also have 4 docks, because that is something the deck struggles with, is draw power. So we do play the 4 docks for Smee as well on turn 2, just another aggressive card. If you can hit like 1 drop on 1, obviously, Smee on 2, Alice on 3, and then Pluto on 4, you're in a very, very strong position, and you're probably looking pretty good for that. The Alice allowing to give another character a lore and ward, in addition to having ward herself, is just very strong. She can fall susceptible to something like a Fox. That's why Pluto following up the Alice is such a strong play, because they would have to, say, bounce a crab with their Fox, which means Fox is going to lose out in the challenge to Pluto as well. You just get a lot of good trades in that early going portion. Again, Smee being the main line, you're going to go Calhoun, more of a on the draw type play, and Doc is more of a mid to late game style card to get you that draw. The John Silver's coming down to stop your opponent from challenging you, because what's better in an aggro deck than stopping your opponent from challenging you? If they can't challenge you, they can't stop you. If they can't stop you, they can't win. Sometimes the game will go on a little bit, and you're going to want to not lose to something like B-Prep, so Pete is going to be played at 4. The 5/5 multi-quester in Scrooge McDuck is just a big threat that you put down on turn 4 as well. Again, the 5/5 body is just very problematic for decks to deal with. Questing for 2 never is a problem. We kind of talked about Pluto already. Just very important to get to him. If you can hit the play, if you can hit the lineup, you're sitting pretty good overall. Even better yet, you go 1 turn further. If you hit that Baymax to heal your Pluto, now you're just being greedy. Not only do you get lore for healing, it's a 6 willpower character that quests for 2. In addition to that, coming down with a Cogsworth instead of the Baymax even, to give your characters resist 1. We mentioned the resist 1 on the Mickey turn 1 being very strong and making it hard for your opponent to deal with. Well, Cogsworth does that for your entire board. Sometimes you're not going to be able to close a game out, or you might miss the play a little bit, and that's why we want to try to finish strong. Having the 3 Gantus in there really helps you just put a big threat on board that your opponent truly needs to answer quickly. Otherwise, they're going to run into all kinds of problems. And then obviously the Robin Hood shift line we kind of talked about already, with the Calhoun just allowing you to challenge your opponent's boards and to deal with them, to allow your Alice and your Baymax, your Cogs, or things like this to really just put the pressure on your opponent through questing. We do have the 4 Strength of the Raging Fire to help deal with your opponent's boards, using like your 3 cost, your Pete, your John Silver, your Pluto, characters that quest for 1 ideally to sing your songs. And in addition, we have the other 3 cost song where, kind of like your John Silver, you stop your opponent from being able to challenge, well, 1 character, and you get to draw a card. So it's just another consistency card that, once again, prevents your opponent from challenging your board. Then lastly, 3 McDuck Manors, so you can try to hit this card early versus like those Popsicle matchups, and then make them start answering your character threats while you also have the McDuck Manor down, and you're going to be able to put them into a world of hurt. What about the other way? The more traditional way to play it, Blue Steel Control now. So here we're going to see a lot more ramping going on. In our 1-drop spot, we just got the 2 items, Popsicle and Fortisphere. You just want to draw a card. You want to get to that ramp. You want to get to the end game. You want to get to your powerful cards as quickly as you can. So consistency is a huge name of the game with the deck. On turn 2, we got quite a bit of utility here, actually. You can try to be a little aggressive into those Popsicle style decks with Smee. You have Doc for that card draw in the late game. You have Calhoun for those peskier quick decks that you need to have a threat to remove them. And you also have your ramp being your Sail the Azurite Sea, your T-Bow. Again, lots of utility here, and you might say that's too many too many 2-drops. It's too crowded, can't do it. But ideally, you want to ramp on 2, so T-Bow or Sail the Azurite Sea. The other cards are more once you build up your inkwell, now you're trying to close out the game. You can slap down multiple characters in a turn. You can come back on turn 3 now with 4 ink, play Calhoun and Smee on turn 3, and things like that. You can pair it up because of ramping on turn 2. So T-Bow, Sail the Azurite Sea, your ramp on turn 2 is your ideal play 1. Then, depending on your matchup, you have Smee or Calhoun as pivot options. You also have 4 Vision of the Future, which is just an insanely good card, even into the late game, to dig for those powerful cards that you want to see on the back end. Pete, again, similar reason to why we play him in the other version. I got him at 3 here. I think you have a lot more consistency cards, a lot more ways to find him as the game goes on, so you don't quite need the 4. Hiram, another one of those cards that is going to be your consistency engine. Popping your items to be able to draw is always going to be good. We didn't mention the Fishbone Quill on 3. This is one where you're probably not going to like use it a ton, like when you have the Whole New World, just ramp, dump your hand, Whole New World, get it back, go. It's more an item for Hiram while also being able to ramp you 2 or 3 times maybe, depending on your hand size and the game state, just to build that inkwell up rather quickly. How far I'll go. I like this card for ramping much more. I'd say T-Bow, Sail, and How Far are your main ramp engine here. Like I said, Fishbone, it's an item you slap down, and if you ramp twice off of it, it got all kinds of value. If you ramp twice, pop it, draw 2 cards, it did its job. Gantu, just another way to try to close out those games. Again, you don't need more because the added consistency of this version, it's just a closing card. It says, answer this card or I'm going to win the game. We're trying to be a bit more control-y here too, so 3 Tinkerbells and 2 Hades with 1 Let It Go. Just cards to be able to react to your opponent's board and to be able to try to slow them down or to stop them. Even without the Whole New World, we still play the 1 Mufasa. I like him in this deck. Not only can he get you extra cards back from your inkwell that you have to ink early, because sometimes you have to ink your Tinkerbells, your Tamatoas, these bigger late game cards, your Gantus even, and you don't get to pick them back, but at least when you play him, there's a chance that you get those style cards back. In addition to that, it's a 9 willpower character with 4 lore on him, which means Lucky Dime can go in hard on this. It's going to be a huge play into those, say, Ruby Amethyst matchups where if they don't answer it and you have the dime down, well, all of a sudden, you know, you're going to be going for a lot. So say you have this, you play the dime the following turn, you quest with him now, and you get 4 lore, you re-ready all your ink. Now you can tap your dime to hit him for 4 more. That's 8 lore very, very quickly, allowing you to just win out of nowhere. 3 Tamatoas. Pretty standard there, sometimes 4, but I think 3 is a pretty acceptable rate as well. Similar to the last one too, McDuck Manor for mirror matches for Popsicles. If you can get this down early, like turn 3 because of ramping on 2, and then start to worry about developing your character board presence, the Popsicle matchup should be actually pretty manageable. I think that this is a really strong deck. I full on expect it to see more play. I think moving forward, it's going to be one of those decks to look out for, and it's actually a lot of fun to play. So these are just 2 ways that you can play Blue Steel. If you have any more questions, I know we kind of went through them quickly. Let me know down below and I'll be happy to answer them. What matchups are you concerned with, which, any direction like that, I will try to be pretty active throughout the day when I'm able to respond to your comments. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, take care.